Okay, the question we have today is this. Loving having you two back on the mic. Thank you very much. Kirsty, I know you were originally a therapist, and Amy, I know you've owned other businesses before your current one. I'm curious as to if/how your backgrounds have informed the work you do today. I'm currently in a course that helps you get clear on your USP, that's unique selling proposition. And the material suggests thinking about what you bring from previous jobs and life experience, but doesn't give any examples, which is how I learn best. This might be a cheeky ask. Fill in the holes in this course I bought, but would love your take. It's not cheeky at all, but I love the cheeky little approach there at the end or comments. That's great. So, as we do, Kirsty, I am throwing it to you.
Sure. And I also love that little ask at the end. I feel like it's the perfect kind of level of cheeky for this podcast. So thank you for asking. And I love this question as well, because I actually think the longer I'm in business, the more and more skills and perspectives and experiences I'm able to, and realizing that I am pulling from my previous career as a therapist and also just my life outside of work as well. So to give some concrete examples, I guess, because that's what this person is asking for. God, there's so many. So I think initially when I was working as a copywriter, the really natural point of crossover there was obviously bringing all of my knowledge from my career as a therapist about human behavior and about connecting with other people and forming relationships and about decision making and motivation and all of those things, bringing that into writing really effective copy. I think my unique USP there, though, was that a lot of people who are doing a similar thing in the copywriting world, at least that I was aware of, had perhaps done education in psychology but not worked as a therapist. And I think that it was my practical experience of being in a room with people and only having words to work with as a way to, build rapport and help them affect positive change in their life. Like that was really the unique selling proposition I brought to that. Now the work I'm doing, while I do still consult on copy and still do help people bring all of that knowledge and skill into approaching the words that they're putting in front of their audience, I'm also using those skills in a coaching relationship with my clients as well. And I think, again, specifically, and Amy, if I'm going too far down the rabbit hole here, please pull me out. But in Australia over here, I don't know what it's like in your neck of the world, but you have to do an undergraduate degree in psychology, and then you have to do a postgraduate degree before you can work as a therapist of any kind. And I made a deliberate choice into psychotherapy as opposed to clinical psychology, purely because the relationship is very different between those two professions. So a clinical psychologist is really there to help diagnose and support their clients. So therefore there is a relationship differential there, in that the psychologist is a bit more like a doctor, like they have a bit more, I guess, power in the situation, whereas a psychotherapist is someone who works with people on a very much human to human level. So it's not about diagnosing, it's about understanding people's experiences, emotions, behaviors, desires, etc., in the context of being a human being. So therefore the relationship is much more equal. So that was a long-winded thing, but just to say that that is also the approach that really informs my coaching. So I hate the idea of someone seeking out a business coach who is going to tell them what to do, who is going to diagnose their problems for them without looking at the context of their environment, of their lived experience. So I would say now, just as another example, that's something that also really informs my work. And for so many people, it's such a valuable approach. So that's another key part of my USP that's come from the work I've done before. But Amy, what about you? Because I feel like even I don't know the wonderfully storied history of all the businesses you've owned before. So please enlighten us.
Well, we don't have that much time, but no, it's interesting because some of the things that I will share are similar to yours. I mean, not from the same background at all or through the same lens, but interestingly, so I grew up in a family business. All right, my parents owned a business. They both worked in it. My brother worked in it. When I was, all through my school years and college years, I worked there on the holidays, or my mom would drag me to work with her on the weekends. And I say drag, but I actually loved it. I mean, I really loved being around them. I loved being in that environment. I just, they'd give me little tasks to do, which I, really liked. In fact, I remember so distinctly, like my dad would say, well, I want you to go down here and you tell them you're my daughter and you want to pick up a such and such. And I was really shy as a kid. And I'd be like, you want me to what? Like I have to go tell an adult, like, excuse me, like I'm here to do this thing. And anyway, but like it built confidence and it built character because I would do it. I mean, he didn't do it in a punitive way. And then he'd be very encouraging. He'd be like, no, it's okay. And he's a nice man and you can do this and whatever. It was a safer world back then. But we talked about business at the dinner table, right? Like my dad would come home and he'd talk about like, somebody that came in today or something that they had done. And there was a lot of emphasis on taking care of people and on customer service and like how you would do the right thing. So I was sort of steeped in that. Now, I did not want to be a business person. I had no interest at all, zero, zilch, nothing, nada. I mean, I was offered to be in the business, I like, no, not in a million years, didn't want to do it. I was much more interested in doing something radically different, probably something creative, and not probably, definitely. And I got into business like quite by accident. And I don't want to tell the whole story, but I am going to bring this to it like to a point that actually makes sense here in a moment. I got into business by accident. I was working for someone and I had all these ideas and we would sit around and talk like sometimes during work, sometimes after work. And I'd be like, well, did you ever think of this? Or how about if we did that? Or would you ever do it this way? And it came one day and he just said, would you be interested in buying in and being a business partner? Like you've helped me grow the business. You've come with all these good ideas. And I remember, I can still picture like where we were in this hideous office in Midtown Manhattan. It was a dump. And we were sitting there and he made that offer to me. And I thought, this is really creative. This is really, really interesting stuff. And sort of everything that I have done since has been based on those two things: ideas, marketing, trying things out, and having really good people skills that I think I developed from being around my parents and being in that environment and like being raised with this like sort of sensibility that part of what you were delivering was an experience and it was how you worked with people. That's been a big part of my USP through all my businesses, has been this sort of eyeball to eyeball, very personal. I care about you and I want to take care of you, in the business context. And, like fast forward to where I am today and what I help people do, which is like I help people who are mostly creatives who like do not want to be in business, do not like the business side, sort of like sometimes hate the business side or feel afraid of the business side. I teach them how to approach that and make them and feel confident and comfortable inside of what you have to do to actually make money and have a sustainable life inside of this thing that you love doing. And so it's all sort of evolved into being that very first original thing. But the thing that blows me away, and I talk about this a lot, and I'd love to hear what you think about this one particular thing. So like we work with a lot of people who are creative freelancers, right? They could be copywriters, web designers. I work with some coaches. I work with some small business people. They all got in business because they love what they do and they're really good at a thing. But a lot of them have trouble making sustainable income at the thing. And what I keep talking or showing them is like, you can, like, there are ways to approach this and there are ways to do it. And this is like the other side, this totally non-sexy thing that they hate is actually the key to unlocking being really successful with the thing that you love. And if you don't have that piece, you risk actually hating the thing you love and not making a successful business of it. So I may have gone totally sideways there, but that's been my simple USP. And I've run 7 different businesses, 6 big successes. I would say 6 successes, a couple of big successes, one not so great go, but it's always been that. It's been like, how do I deliver the service but amplify the experience?
Yes. Oh, I did not know. I've not heard you speak about your childhood like that before. And I love it. I just feel like, yes, knowing what you do now, who you are, and just how you move through the world, I'm like, this makes so much sense. And I love the thing I really, really, really loved about that example as well is that I think it so beautifully illustrates how the out of business experience or previous experience that you bring to your current role doesn't have to be a formal qualification. It can simply be a result of the experiences you've had, the life you've lived, the environment in which you've grown up, and that can bring something inherently wonderful and valuable. So thank you for sharing that. I love it. I've got goosebumps actually, which is kind of
No
weird.
way. Do you really?
Yeah, I really do. And it's really hot here. It's summer here and
Oh,
I've got goosebumps. So thank you.
oh, let me say something else, if I may, specifically to this person and this whole
Mm.
USP, and kind of like on the back of what you just said, because I think this comes up a lot. I mean, and I wonder if it does for you too. Like in when you're coaching someone and you're talking about like what they're doing currently and what they're what they're up against and what their challenges are, and then you start like peeling back the layers. And you find out like they've done amazing things, right? Like sometimes professionally, sometimes personally, and particularly professionally. That always interests me. Like people say, "Oh, well, you know what? I was really successful at." Like I even think of a recent client that I'm working with, and she's like, "Oh yeah, I've been like decades in travel and tourism and customer service." And we were talking about sort of what that entailed. And for me, it was a natural like, well, what have you done there that we can bring over here? And for her, it was compartmentalized, right? That was something she'd done, and she was doing this over here. And then we picked out all of the things that she was expert at, or had to know, or did know, or had learned, and how they could be applicable to what she was doing currently. And it was like a big surprising moment for her. And so I think, to this person's question, I think the thing is like dig through all the things. And like you said, it's not about credentials, it's not about degrees or what somebody else has officially told you that you can like tick the box, yes, you're certified or you're good at, or anything else. It's like, what have you done, what experience have you had, and what has that given you, or how has that developed you, and like what's the essence of who you are, what your values are, what you believe in or believe, about something that you do. I know, I think it's really important to tie those pieces together and realize that each thing isn't like some disparate, experience, like, oh, did that, tuck it away in a box. It's like, no, how does that sort of like the wave wash over that wall into the next thing? Because it's all of a piece, yeah?
Yes, and I've had this experience also so many times with clients. And I think what happens is that it's very easy to get stuck when you're considering like other experiences, like get stuck thinking about the context. But I think what's usually more applicable is the skills and abilities that allowed you to flourish in a certain context. So even like as another like life example, like I'm a parent. I've got a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old, and there's so much in my life as a parent now that is really filtering into my business at the moment, and I'm loving it. And those things are really around gamification and creating motivating experiences, because like as any other parent or person who has spent a lot of time caring for small children will know, like, God, you really have to like to create an easy fun day for everyone involved. You really have to think about the timing of things and how you're going to motivate certain necessary tasks so that they feel like fun, or that so there's something to look forward to at the end of something that's perhaps necessary but not enjoyable. And I also think there's so much about being a parent that really hones your positioning abilities, right? Like, a simple example is something that my kids are currently obsessed with, being in the car, like even when it's stationary. And my husband's away for work a lot. So sometimes during the week when I cannot be bothered cooking a dinner at home and then dealing with the inevitable, like cleaning up the mashed potato and the peas that are smushed into the floor, I say, let's have a boot picnic. And that just involves like us getting sushi and going and sitting near the beach in the boot, having a nice dinner. So it's like positioning that thing into something that's fun for them to buy into. Like, yeah, we get to have a picnic in the boot. But for me, it's like, yeah, I get a night off cooking and washing up. So I think even those things are really, there's such good skills. And I think as well, they make you so relatable to a chunk of your audience, right? Or they can, depending on who you're serving and what you're offering. I don't know, it's such a nice nod to like the humanness in all of us and the humanness in being in business. So yeah, anyway, sorry. I
Yeah.
also went on a rambly path there. This person has opened a can of worms for us.
But it's such a good one though, because there was one thing you said and it was necessary but not enjoyable. Right. And it's like,
Mm.
so and if you have kids, like you can't not think about that, right? Because you have to kind because it's all up to you. And so like, and you said like, make the day, what did you say? Tolerable, enjoyable.
Tolerable. I think I said enjoyable, but tolerable is probably the right word more days than not.
Well, it depends on the day, right? But I mean, but that's your job to engineer that, right? It's not up to them. And you are the one who can see ahead and know what's going to happen if we don't, if we do, if we don't, if we do. And so you have to
Mm.
sort of organize that. And I think like the parallel for me with business, like, 'cause especially with the necessary but not enjoyable, right? Like, and I like, as soon as you said that, I thought like, right, we have to slog for like, 10 or 12 hours to the airport and get on a plane and do this and be bored but guess who we're going to get to see and guess what we're going to get to do and like that sort of thing. And it's kind of how I feel about some of these tasks in business. Like, you don't have to like it. You can hate it, but you need to do it and you need to know what those things are. And so like to tie that back into like a USP or what you do, I think you can take all of those things and all of those skills and say like, how do I then run a business? Because I mean, running a family is different than running a project, but not entirely. It's not. It's like you have to anticipate, what's going to happen and how can I make this easier? And how do I get to the end goal? And how do I not have 38 cooks in the kitchen? And how do I sort of structure this so that you give me what I need and I give you what you need? And right, like if you can sort of engineer that and craft that, you're not going to get credentialed in that. And you're not going to think of that as like, I know how to code in this language. Like, right, it's not that. It's like, I know how to sort of deliver this entire experience. So anyway, long way of saying, I think we've been sort of saying over and over in different ways. It's like you need to extricate all of those things that you do and you know how to do and you bring to relationships. I think that's, one of the exercises that people often do. And I guess in coaching in all kinds of environments is they'll say like, go ask like, 5 people that know you really well or 6 people that know you really well. Like, what stands out about you and what are you really good at? And like all of those things, because we don't have perspective on ourselves necessarily. But I think we do. I think we're maybe a little bit reticent or shy sometimes to be like, well, I'm really good at this and I've done this successfully. But like dig around and like like, like what do people like about you? What do you like about you? What do you, enjoy bringing to the table that's like of value to other humans, right? Because we're in all these relationships all the time. And so I think it's just another way of looking at your USP and your values, how you position, like how you decide, who you're going to, and who you're going to show up. And I'll just say one more thing. This is kind of the essence of being in business or like working for yourself is like, you get to decide like which things matter to you. Like, what do you want to amplify? Like, what do you want the sort of the quality of these experiences to be like? And then you be that and you attract the people who also be like that, or want to be like that, or want to be in that environment and in that experience and in that milieu. And I think that's really important, and that's the fun of it. And I think we forget that. And we think we're
Mm.
much more beholden to the other person. Like if we're trying to get a client, like we have to like fit into some little clienty shaped mold that they must want us to be in. And it's like, no, 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 no. It can be quite the opposite and be very satisfying. I mean, unless you're an asshole or a jerk or something, probably nobody wants to fit into that mold with you. But like that goes without saying. But no, seriously, because it's germane to a conversation I've been having with someone today about a difficult red flag client. But anyway, I'm going to stop there. I'm going to zoop and throw it back to you to wrap this up.
Okay, yes, because I feel like, I mean, hopefully we have just hearing us speak about how, qualifications, yes, for me, but also life experience, like Amy and I guess me with parenting now, hopefully hearing us speak through that has given you permission to look at your life and your skills and your influences and your expertise through a much broader lens, and really embrace all of those pieces, because what you bring to your work is not just about what you've learned in a course, for example, or it's not just about the fact that, I don't know, maybe you have some very obvious difference to someone else. It can be in all these really small, contextual, complex little bits and pieces.
I think this sums up into is that very often, I would say more often than not, people hire the person first and the deliverable second.
Mm.
So I think that's a really nice sum up of why this matters and why you want to be why you want to be who you are. And I interrupted you wrapping up. So I probably like
No.
interrupted your entire train of thought, but bring it back, please.
If you do want to dig deeper into this exploration, I guess, of who you are and what you bring to the table, check out my Comms Camp offer. So kirstyfanton.com/commscamp. Even I think reading through that page, you'll get perhaps another perspective on how I position all of my experience into a compelling offer. And if you do want to work with me and a really small, like amazing bunch of humans, you can pop in and out of that offer. So even a month, you could come in and we could work on you nailing your USP and getting real clarity around it so that you can then know how to position that and communicate that most effectively with the people you need to reach. So that is my little nudge to you. Amy, I know you have some resources and some offers and some wonderful ideas that would help people with this stuff as well. Where would you like to send people?
I have a weekly newsletter that you can sign up for at amyposner.com/newsletter. And I try and deep dive into a topic every week, like something that will help you to actually do something in your business to make it more, I'll adopt your term, make it more U-shaped. And, and something that you really enjoy being in, but that also sustains you. And, my definition of a sustainable business is making the money you want to make in the time you have available, not making the money somebody else is making, and whoever knows what they're doing behind the scenes. So my newsletter is a resource. I also have a small group membership that's totally asynchronous, where I answer questions. I answer people's questions in real time. Well, asynchronously in real time, but we deal with whatever it is that you're going through. Because one thing that I find is the thing that keeps people most from their success is decision making and spinning and not knowing what to do next. And this is a way to like get a quick, reliable answer and keep moving, which is like how you have a faster business growth trajectory rather than one that plateaus all the time and drives you insane. That's what I have to say. Thanks for listening to us.
If you have a question you want us to dive into, if you've heard our offers and you're like, no, I just want to ask you guys another question for the podcast, head to businessbadass.co and you'll find the question submission form waiting for you there.